So this is a video on biblical resources for ancient history. So this is stuff that actually, it goes along with the Bible stories. So of course we start, in Genesis and stuff like that. The thing that started all of this for me was the book. It's actually not this one. It's the one that goes with this, Genius of Ancient Man, which I'm not sure where that one is. But this is the Secrets of Ancient Man by the same author. And they're so good. And I waited for a long time for my boys to be able to use these, but they were way too young the last time. We used to do ancient history by timeline with no curriculum. So we link our history, our science, and our geography all together, and often our handwriting and grammar all together without a curriculum. This is our first year that I've used any kind of curriculum. And we're still actually doing more of like a timeline-based study. I'm getting books for each time period. I have like an Excel spreadsheet. I've done this since the beginning, so it's over 8 years. So this is how I've always taught. I can't quite give it up yet, even though I'm having a curriculum for them to do also on top of it. They kind of have to do it both, do it all. So the Genius of Ancient Man book actually has a study guide that goes with it. I'm going to keep checking to make sure I'm recording because I'm not doing this video again. But it has the Genius of Ancient Man study guide that I think you just search Genius of Ancient Man study guide. I think it was like $5 for the PDF, and my boys loved it. It just deepened their knowledge and their ability to search and think and find things. So I loved it. They were actually really upset that this book didn't come with one as well. And that's what started us on this. I liked it so much, and we were still in ancient history, that right after they finished that, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do next. And I saw this. It's Master Books, Biblical Archaeology. It's for 9th to 12th grade. My boys are in 7th grade. And I kept pushing this back because I was like, they're not quite ready for that yet. That's asking too much. We were doing Master Books, one of their science curriculums. And I liked it so far, except that the study guide, teacher's guide has some answers that are wrong. So there's some typos and stuff. They are fixing that. So each version you get is probably better and better and hopefully better, and not having those typos. They do send like a PDF if you ask with updated pages that are corrected. But my boys have found extras that they haven't found yet, and I haven't updated them on all of the problems we found. It hasn't been too bad, but there's been quite a few between the two curriculums. So anyway, I finally broke down and I bought it, and I was like, they can just try it. It will be fine, because I don't know when we'll be back to ancient history. Last time it took us 5 years to get through the whole timeline the way that we do it. So I really wanted to go ahead and give this a try, because I thought this might be my last chance. And one of my boys loves biblical archaeology, and the other one really likes history and loves reading, so I knew that it wouldn't be too much of a stretch for them. So far they really liked it. The quizzes kind of beat them up a little bit. The quizzes are a little hard, but otherwise they really like it. And the teacher's guide, actually, you have, just as part of it, you get books. You buy books. I bought them separately. I just found it a little cheaper. There's one more, I think, that I have an ebook for, the Unveiling the Kings of Israel. This one is Unwrapping the Pharaohs, How Ancient Archaeology Confirms the Biblical Timeline. So good. And the Archaeology book by David Down. And David Down, actually, we have, his DVD was in this one, that has a little bit about Egyptology and biblical archaeology and how it lines up together. It's really good, but it only has like 3 episodes. But if you go online, we found some free resources that he has like 50 some videos that are all on different things, like the Hittites, and just a lot of different resources. So we're going to be using those, because my girls, my twins that are 2nd grade, I haven't been doing as much extra stuff like history and geography and science with them. We've been sticking to the core subjects, just because they need to focus on those core things. But I do, every chance I get, movies and audiobooks and stuff like that, I try to add it in. And I sometimes will have the boys read their bedtime book. We'll read for bedtime one of the books we have for history or geography or something like that. But we do living. I do more of a living geography with them. So you use literature and stuff about different areas. So right now, obviously, we're learning about Egypt just to make it easier. So I'm still doing my timeline-based curriculum that I throw together for my kindergartner and my second graders. Mostly my kindergartner, really, because I just sit down and read with her every morning. So that is usually what I grab, is those books that we've been working on. So I make sure I have books that are friendly for her, and then I get them all the way up, all the way up to my 7th graders. I still make both my boys do their curriculum and the extra stuff, because I feel like the extra stuff is amazing too. And the other stuff that I get is usually not a biblical perspective. So I feel like it just gives them a different, a lot of different things to look at and choose from and hear different perspectives. That's what I was looking for. But on the same perspective, these Jonathan Parks, The Dreamer's Tomb and The Call of Exodus, are about Joseph and Moses. Super good. I learned so much from these things, and they are just really amazing to listen to, and they go right along with a movie we own also called Patterns of Evidence, which I really like, and that just came out with a new one called Patterns of Evidence, Moses. It's about Moses, I believe. But anyway, I love the Patterns of Evidence. I think it's so interesting. And I've kind of gotten super into biblical archaeology right now, just researching and finding information for them. So I liked these a lot. They were a little scary and a little too intense for all 3 of my girls this time around. And we've listened to Jonathan Park a lot. The newest ones seem to be a little bit more dramatic, a lot more screaming, and so a little bit scarier. So we weren't able to finish The Dreamer's Tomb, which I'm super sad about. I think I'm going to have the boys listen to it on their own. I wanted to listen to it though, so I'm a little bit bummed about that, but that's okay. They still learned a lot they watched the Patterns of Evidence. So glad that they like to watch that. We actually got Patterns of Evidence for Young Explorers also. For some reason that had things that they felt were more intense and scarier. I don't know why. Maybe it was just a little bit more, a little more dramatic for kids. And also the Patterns of Evidence and the Patterns for Evidence for Young Explorers both have a curriculum that you can get, and the curriculum can be for high school or it can be for elementary, and it actually talks about, you can get a free sample, and in the free sample it talks about how to sync them together if you're teaching both of those grades, if you have multiple kids. So I thought that was really cool, so they could be learning and watching this videos at the same time. It's called Quest. One of them's called Quest Curriculum. And you can find those you can look up Patterns of Evidence, and there's actually a website for that. And then they have the curriculums on there. I think you can find them in a few other places like Answers in Genesis and different places like that. For actual just reading, like just kind of a literature fun thing, Truth Chronicles was really good for my boys about 2 years ago or so. Really good for the same kind of thing. And it covers kind of creation. I really liked that. And then Noah has been this year, they really liked. And it's for older kids, and you find that on Answers in Genesis. There's 3 books in the series. I have yet to read them. I need to. I cannot keep up on their reading. And Life in the Great Ice Age was a really good book, and I read to my 4-year-old. And it's kind of covering that time after Babel. And so it's really good too. I really like it. It was super interesting. And there's a study guide that you can get to go with it. And I had my boys do it this time around, but it was a little bit too easy for them. So it was definitely for a little bit younger. They're 7th grade. I would say my 2nd graders, it would be too hard for them. And then this does not go with biblical archaeology and biblical ancient history, but it was so good. My 4-year-old loved this book. It's Spend the Day in Ancient Egypt, Projects and Activities that Bring the Past to Life. And what I love about this is it's not just filled with activities. It's actually follows a family, and it talks about the family. This is the longest page there is about it, because the rest of it is just a story. And it has a short story about this family in ancient Egypt, and then it has activities that go with the story. She loved it. She was so sad when we were done. She wanted to be just like the people in the story. She wants to dress like them. Obsessed with Egypt. just listens to everything just because it talks about Egypt. So that's the way I love to teach. She just kind of like pulls it all out of you at 4. There are a couple more of these books. One for ancient Greece, I think, and one for ancient Rome. So I actually add all of this stuff in and make sure that we use that also. I get a lot of these resources from our local library, and I hope that helped somebody. If it did, and this is actually useful, I will try to do it again. Bye. So I thought I pushed record when I started this. I did a whole thing on what we were doing for biblical history, and none of it was recorded. I'm gonna try it one more time. Doesn't work. This video will never exist.